So the only time that I saw Jeff outside of class was when I saw him at the chow hall eating with a new girl who just arrived with the new arrivals from boot camp. I remember this young lady, she was very good looking. She looked like a mix of Mila Kunis and Uma Thurman on the cover of Pulp Fiction. So the next day in class, the first thing I asked Jeff is, yo man, who was that chick you were hanging out with last night? He said, her name is Natalie and she's 19 years old. Natalie joined the military so she could get away from her 30-year-old ex-husband. Natalie said that her husband was always cheating on her, but she finally broke it off when her husband gave her genital warts. Literally, as soon as I was walking out the building at midnight, a guy from the next shift stops me at the door. He goes, yo, JD, Natalie called me earlier. She asked me to tell you if you can swing by her room after you get off of work. So I knock. This beautiful young lady answers the door in a pink silk nightie. She gives me a hug and her perfume just tries to hypnotize me. Without saying a word, she grabs my hand and she leads me inside a room. All right, so let's rewind about a year so I can tell you guys about that horny girl Natalie. You know, Natalie. Okay, so around the same time I went to Afghanistan, Natalie deployed to Iraq. So during our time in the Middle East, she would email me, she'll send me some pictures, and we'll just keep in touch. Either through MySpace, Yahoo email, or through the government computer. And also, she would call me a couple times from Iraq to Afghanistan, and we would just talk here and there. It wasn't turning into something serious, but we developed a cool friendship. Yes, we would flirt with each other, but it was just fun and games between two teenagers. So when we got back to Japan from our deployments, we would go on a few dates here and there. I wouldn't say we were dating because like I said, I just couldn't see myself being with this girl. I mean, yes, she was beautiful and she was a cool girl, but as we know, the whole warts thing, I just couldn't do it. But yes, we would go out, we would go on dates, we would go to dinner, go to lunch, go to movies, but it never went past that. But I mean, every time I would go out with her, for some reason, and yes, I'm not fully blaming her, I was going along with the flirting thing, and somehow, every single time we hung out, we would always end up in her room. And all of a sudden, she would want to take naps, or she would think that, hey, if I keep him over here a little longer, maybe he'll want to spend the night. But respectfully, it was always a no for me. So at this point, we built a genuine friendship. And at the end, I was appreciative for the way she would treat me. I mean, she was a sweet lady. So I didn't want to lose that friendship. And yeah, I guess if the warts weren't involved, I mean, who wouldn't pursue it? Like I said, she was a nice, kind, beautiful lady. But yeah, so let me tell you some sweet things she'll do for me. So this girl was born and raised in the state of Wyoming, and now she lives in Japan. So that meant the few months that she spent in Texas during boot camp and tech school, that was, I guess, her only exposure to Mexican culture, if that. If she ever went off base to San Antonio and commingled with the people there. But 9 times out of 10, a brand new airman in training was gonna stay on base. So like I said, maybe she got a little bit of taste of the Mexican culture in Texas, but out of 19 years of living in Wyoming and now living in Japan, she wasn't really exposed to the Mexican-American culture. But somehow, every time this girl would cook for me, she would make some of the most delicious tacos ever. It's funny because she actually taught herself how to make some homemade salsa with some horchata. I mean, hey, this girl was trying, man. Yo, I remember this one time, she invited me to her room because she said she wanted her to cook for me. So she made me some enchiladas with some rice and beans, and this girl also bought some Corona and some Patron. Then she ends up popping in the Selena DVD, and it was cool. Hey, I was just eating some enchiladas and watching the Selena movie with a hot chick. You know, it was pretty cool, I guess. I can't complain. But hey, what can I say? This nice white girl from Wyoming was very nice to me, and she was very sweet to me. So I'm thankful for that. And also, I don't want to seem like she wasn't catching my drift. I mean, she wasn't waiting around for me. I mean, she also had her boyfriends. She also went on dates with other people because, like I said, I wasn't trying to pursue her, and she was a pretty girl. So obviously, other guys would want to ask her out. And during our time in Japan, she had a few boyfriends here and there. So it's not like I was using her or anything like that. But I did appreciate the friendship. And at some points, you know, some of those boyfriends will be kind of jealous. So we'll take a pause from our friendship. Like, she wouldn't talk to me for a little bit because those guys don't want her to have some guy friends, which I guess is understandable. I mean, whatever. I mean, like I said, she was a pretty girl, so maybe some guys could be insecure. But after they'll break up, you know, she'll hit me up, we'll kick it again. So I never got confirmation for this, but I always thought she would send her girlfriends up to me so I could date her friends. I don't know, it was kind of weird, but hear me out. Let me know what you think. Okay, for example, Natalie and I never worked together. We had the same job, but we never worked in the same section. She worked in another building on the other side of base. So yes, we were in the same squadron. However, I will only see her at squadron functions during work hours. So during work hours, we would probably see each other maybe 2 to 3 hours a week. And during those short hours, we would probably say like hi and bye. We wouldn't stop and conversate. And mind you, those 2 to 3 hours, we were also in a room full of like 50 to 100 people. So it's not like we were looking for each other or even had some time to say what's up. So since I don't even have time to go look for her or try to find her, obviously if that's not my goal to go seek her out in a group full of 50 to 100 people, that meant that it was even harder for me to be introduced or even talk to her direct co-workers. I mean, I knew some of their names just because she would mention them during some conversations that we would have when we were hanging out with each other, but I wasn't trying to go out of my way to go introduce myself to some of her co-workers. I mean, I just thought that was weird. Because I mean, hey, I'm not her man. You know, why do I need to be knowing who she works with? So she worked in a section that had 90% of female airmen working in there. And a few times, some of these female airmen would just pop into my life for some reason. For example, one day I was just working. I was just on my job, doing my thing. Now, when I finally had the chance to go sit down at my desk, I checked my work emails and I received an email from an airman with an unfamiliar female name. So I checked out her signature, like her title, and I noticed that she had the same exact description that Natalie had in her emails. That's how I knew they were coworkers before I asked Natalie if she knew the girl. And the email said, "Hey JD, my name is so-and-so. I was actually wondering if you were free Friday night. Maybe we could hang out." Never meeting this girl, but knowing she works for Natalie. And also I could barely see her face just because I think I saw her during a squadron function. And knowing that Natalie works with some pretty girls, I was like, sure, why not? Let's go out. I mean, mind you, I was a single guy in Japan. I mean, if a girl wants to hang out, why not? So me and the girl go out, and yes, I confirmed that she does work with Natalie, and Natalie did give her my information. You know, then it was all good. And I went out with the girl for a few months, and we just ended up being friends. Nothing too serious, but we ended up on good terms. Also, one day, I was hanging out on a Friday night in my room by myself, when all of a sudden, I hear someone pounding at my door. Boom, boom, boom. I opened the door, and it was another pretty young lady who worked directly with Natalie. I mean, I didn't know this girl, but I did see her in a few squadron functions. So she was right there at my door, holding a bottle of Patron and some pizza. And she just said, "Hey JD, you wanna hang out?" And she just let herself in. And of course I'm not gonna kick her out. I mean, hey, she was a pretty girl, and she had my favorite, Hawaiian pizza. I mean, that night was kind of weird at first. It was because I didn't know her name. And also, she was kind of acting like we knew each other for a long time. So I mean, that was cool, but I was a little smooth with it. In the military, we go by our last names. So after she started calling me Diaz, to try to find out her name, I was like, let's not call each other by our last name. That's our work name. Fortunately, she said, "Okay, call me Ashley." And that's how we first met. She said she worked with Natalie. So by this time, this was the second out of some more girls who knew Natalie, who would just come up to me without knowing me. I mean, I'm not complaining or anything, but it was just funny the way I meet these girls. And yes, I would date a few of them, and it was cool meeting some new people, but I don't know, sometimes I feel like some of them were fishing for information. But whatever, I had a good time hanging out with those ladies. Anyway, like I said, Natalie and I became good friends. And yes, as we know, she wanted to be more than friends, but like I keep saying, I didn't feel comfortable building more than what we had because I really didn't have knowledge about the whole genital warts thing. I also don't want to offend anybody who has genital warts. So if you're in love with somebody with genital warts, you know, I don't think you should discriminate. Educate yourself. The person who has it could educate the person who doesn't have it. But I mean, just having it doesn't mean that you're excluded from love. So guys, don't discriminate people with genital warts. But at the time, I just didn't want to risk anything. So the fact that Natalie and I were never intimate, it allowed us to build a genuine friendship. I got to know her on a personal level, and I enjoyed myself every single time we were able to hang out. It's funny, even though she was a beautiful girl, some people thought she was weird because she was extremely sarcastic and she also had a dry humor. But to me, I don't know, I thought she was funny. That's actually what I liked about her. But I mean, I don't know, I've always been open-minded to how people are. I mean, mind you, like I said, this girl was born and raised in Wyoming. She's a country girl who grew up on a farm and went cow tipping for fun. And me, I'm just a city boy from Southern California. But I don't know, we just clicked. She was overall a cool friend. Okay, so let's fast forward to the last day that I saw my friend Natalie. So after our tours in Japan, I ended up getting orders to Germany, and I believe she ended up getting orders to like Nebraska or Arkansas, some state down there. So when you have to move bases, a main rule that comes along when you have to move is that you can move any day during the actual month that you have to leave. So me, I had to stay in Japan from January 2007 all the way to January 2009. So I was leaving in January. So that meant I had the choice that I could leave on any day from the 1st of January all the way through the 31st of January. I could pick any one of those 31 days to leave the base. So if you remember from the beginning of the story, I ended up traveling during New Year's Day in 2007. And from that experience, I thought it was kind of easy because nobody was traveling during that day. Because I mean, it is a holiday. So to me, the planes and the airports weren't that crowded. Plus, I was excited to go to Germany. So I decided to just fly out on the 1st of January 2009. And since I'm going to be flying through different countries, I just wanted to avoid as many people as possible. I don't know, that's just me. So I get dropped off on New Year's Day at the airport by my supervisor. And like I said, the local airport was very small. So it was easy to just check in and just get in the plane. So I get into the small plane that's going to take me from base to the international airport in Tokyo. So I noticed it's an empty plane because like I said, nobody's traveling on New Year's Day. So I noticed 2 people in the front and just a head all the way in the back. So as I'm walking toward the back, just so I can have my own room, my own space within the empty plane, that head comes up and guess who it is? It's Natalie. And then she goes, "Hey JD, come over here, come sit next to me." I mean, I thought it was cool. I mean, that's my friend. I was excited to see my friend, so I just sat next to her. Okay, so we just ended up sitting next to each other in the back of the plane, and like I said, with like a couple of people all the way in the front. So basically, it was completely empty. And also, the only stewardess that was on there, she was sitting all the way in the front, right next to the cockpit. So it was just me and my friend sitting in the back of the plane. And it was fun riding with Natalie because all we did was just laugh and also going down memory lane of the last 2 years we just spent in Japan. You know, just reminiscing about the happy times and the good times. Well, at this moment, I had no idea, but maybe it's because Natalie and I didn't talk for like a little over 3 months just because we were so busy out processing Japan and also going through the holiday months. She ends up telling me that she got engaged. She had a ring and everything. She told me that her fiance was also in the Air Force. However, he was currently stationed in Korea, and that's also where she spent the holidays. So I mean, no wonder I haven't seen her in a while. And there's a rule when you get stationed in Korea that you get priority to choose what base you want to go to. So since she went to Nebraska or Arkansas, her fiance ended up choosing to be stationed in Arkansas or Nebraska with Natalie, or with his, you know, his new fiance. And I congratulated her. I was genuinely happy for my friend. I mean, congrats to her. Like I said, she was a cool lady, so you know, I'm just happy she found the one. I mean, because we all know I didn't want her. Nah, just like. So as we're riding the plane, I mean, the plane ride isn't that long, but we had some time to talk a lot. So then she hits me with it. So since we're all alone in the back of an empty plane, she goes, "Hey JD, since I'm about to get married, I'm really looking for one last fling." Girl. She goes, "You want to join the Mile High Club with me?" I mean, as I was looking around, it could happen. We are 100% alone, away from everybody. But as we already know from the entire story, how many times have I said it? I'm not trying to catch genital warts. And plus, if she didn't have genital warts, this girl was engaged, man. She was literally just showing off her engagement ring to me. Some man in Korea decided this girl was worthy enough for his last name. I didn't want none of that karma on me. You know, that's not my style. I don't sleep with people's wives or fiancés. I'm not into all that. You know, that's just me. But hey, you do you. So I respectfully declined the offer to join the Mile High Club with her. So we finally land in Tokyo, and both of us have a 5-hour layover. So we decide to have one last authentic Japanese meal. So we check in our bags and we catch a taxi to a local Japanese restaurant. It's funny how I remember what we ate because, I don't know, it was just strange. But I ordered some raw horse and she ordered some raw whale, and they were served in a rice roll. So I don't know, almost 15 years later, I can still remember that meal just because what we ordered was actually weird. But hey, that was Japan for you. And I'm not gonna lie, it was hella delicious. So as we were eating our rolls and we were drinking some sake, she got some of that liquid courage and she started expressing herself. So then she starts admitting, she goes, "Hey JD, you know I liked you the whole time that we were in Japan, right?" So I took a shot of sake and I was like, "Yeah, I know." And she was like, "Well, if you knew, why didn't you ever like me back? Why wouldn't you date me?" I mean, I'm literally 4 hours away from probably never seeing this girl ever again in my life. So might as well just come clean to her and just be honest with the girl. I mean, she did try hard to try to get with me, so she at least deserves to know the truth. So I let her have it. So I asked her, remember the first time I met you and you went out on a date with Jeff to Taco Bell? Well, even before that, he told me how you were divorced and how you actually divorced your husband right before you joined the military. Well, in my head, I was always curious to know why a 30-year-old man would divorce his beautiful 19-year-old wife. I always thought it was either you're crazy, or he was either abusive, or he was being unfaithful. So after your date with Jeff at Taco Bell, he came straight to my room and he told me how you finally broke up with your ex-husband because he cheated on you and gave you genital warts. So me knowing that you had a lifelong STD, even though yes, I knew you liked me, selfishly, I just didn't want to take the chance to catch genital warts. So that's why I couldn't see myself dating you or being with you. And there you go, everybody. She finally knew the truth. So this girl pauses for the longest time. There was an awkward silence. As she was processing what I just told her, she looks at me and she pours herself another shot of sake. She finally breaks the awkward silence. She goes, yes, I do remember going to Taco Bell with Jeff when I first got to Japan. And I did tell him that my husband cheated on me. But during the whole time we were eating, Jeff just kept hitting on me. However, Jeff already told me that he was engaged. Plus, I didn't like him. I wasn't attracted to him. Jeff just wasn't my type. And I also do remember meeting you when I first got to Japan. And I also remember seeing you at the food court while we were eating some Taco Bell. But then you left. So knowing that Jeff knew you, I actually started asking him about you while we were eating at Taco Bell. I asked him if you were single, and I actually told him that I thought you were cute. So when the date ended, I asked Jeff if he could give you my number. So when I invited you to my room to go watch that stupid Robin Williams movie, I thought you would already know how I felt. Since Jeff agreed to let you know that I thought you were cute and to pass on my number. I just assumed that you didn't call me because the whole squadron was working 12-hour shifts. Then she pauses. She takes that last sake shot. And then she hits me with it. She goes, all that did happen that night. However, I never told Jeff that I had genital warts. JD, I do not have an STD, and I never had an STD my entire life. Even if my husband was cheating on me, he never gave me an STD. So JD, you're really telling me that we couldn't date each other or be with each other for these last 2 years that we spent in Japan because Jeff lied on me? So I sit there with egg all over my face, filled with shame and embarrassment. I mean, there was nothing I could do but just laugh because, I mean, damn, Jeff. This man just hated on me. Obviously, it's my fault because I believed a man who was cheating on his fiancée with 2 ugly women, who then cheated on his new wife, gave her genital warts, to be honest with me. Now, who's the idiot, right? So Natalie asked, why didn't you ever tell me? Why didn't you ever say anything? Why couldn't we have this conversation sooner? And I was like, well, I didn't want to embarrass you. Plus, I enjoyed our friendship and I appreciated you as a friend. I mean, let's be honest. I'm glad that it did happen that way because I had a cool friend for a few years. What really did I miss out on? What? Just another notch on my belt? So now the waiter comes by with the check and we just toast with our last sake shots in Japan. We cheers to our friendship and the fake genital warts. So we go back to the airport and we give each other a hug. I wish her the best for her future and her marriage, and we just got into our flights. And that was the last time I ever saw my friend Natalie. We actually didn't keep in touch, but right before she deleted her Facebook, she told me that her fiance cheated on her while he was in Korea and she ended up breaking off the engagement. Also, she ended up getting out of the military once her contract was up and she ended up moving back home to Wyoming. I haven't heard anything about her in like 10 years, but I hope she's doing well. Shout out to you, Natalie. So, moral of the story. Well, that was me at 19. Me in my 30s, I would handle everything differently, from being friends with Jeff to handling things with Peggy and also the friendship with Natalie. I mean, obviously with knowledge and experience, that's why I know I would handle everything differently. But hey, that's just how everything played out during that gap in my life while I was 19 when I first got in the military. So, what can we learn from this? All right, 1, don't believe your lying ass friends. Because hey, hey, your friends can also be some haters too. I mean, if you know your friends lie to people they love, what makes you think they won't lie to you? A real question, right? And also, don't judge people by what other people say. If you have a question, just ask. I mean, who knows? What if I would have had that conversation with Natalie a long time ago, other than the very, very last day that I actually saw the girl? I mean, I don't know what would have happened, but I'm just saying, other people could be losing out on some experiences. Also, what we can learn from this is stop cheating on your spouses. If you don't want to be with somebody, you don't have to cheat. Just break up with them and leave them alone. Why you gotta be cheating on people? And we can't forget, the most important thing is wear a damn condom. The world would be a better place if you would stop passing your bumps and drips around. For real. Well, anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much for listening to the entire story. What did you guys think about the story? Did you guys like it? Did you enjoy it? Was it a trip? Did it suck? And yes, all this really happened to me. It was actually crazy reliving it and speaking about it. But hey, I just wanted to share it with you guys. Please make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give me that like. And I'll make sure to drop some more stories for you guys. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks.